In this video, we're going to take a quick look at male and female reproductive systems. If you look at this model, we're looking at the male reproductive system. This is the penis. This is the scrotal sac, and the scrotal sac is designed to keep the testicles descended away from the body because spermatogenesis or sperm production is optimal at several degrees cooler than that of body temperature. So this is the testicle, this is the epididymis, this is where the sperm will be stored for several weeks as they mature. And this structure here is the spermatic cord. So it contains the vas deferens or spermatic duct along with the testicular artery and vein. It goes up right here through the inguinal floor. So for men, this is a natural opening in our abdominal wall. And so this is called the inguinal canal. And it's the easiest place for a man to get a hernia because a hernia is simply a rupture or a tear in that abdominal wall. And since this is already an opening naturally, it's a weak area. As sperm come up during ejaculation, they'll go through this vas deferens. You'll see it right here. It comes around and it connects with these glands, one on either side of the urinary bladder. This is your urinary bladder. This is a ureter coming down from the kidneys, right? This is your left ureter, and back here would be your right ureter, just for orientation. This is a segment of your colon. And then this here would be the rectum. So as the sperm come through the vas deferens and meet with this gland, this is called a seminal gland. It releases seminal fluid. And it has a connection to the prostate gland. I said this is a male reproductive system. This is the urinary bladder, and men have this large prostate gland right below the urinary bladder. The duct that connects the seminal glands to the prostate is called the ejaculatory duct. Now, that's as far as I can go with this model. Let's look at another model that's three-dimensional, and it'll give you some idea of the internal structures that we cannot see in this model. So we're looking at a sagittal view here. This is your urinary bladder, and this is the urethra coming out. This right here would be the prostatic urethra going through the prostate. Right at about this level, the ejaculatory duct from each of the seminal glands would empty into the prostatic urethra. And then upon ejaculation, it would go through the urethra and out. All of this that you see here, this pinkish material and this purplish material, is erectile tissue. This becomes engorged with blood. That's what gives a man an erection. And the urethra serves a dual function for urination and ejaculation. Right here is the rectum and the anus. So the anal sphincter would be right there. You see that in digestion. But this is basically the male reproductive system simplified. So this is that three-dimensional model of the male reproductive system. And we've looked at everything, but here, this is what I was speaking of earlier, the musculature that surrounds the vas deferens, the testicular artery and vein. All of this constitutes the spermatic cord going up through that inguinal canal. And the musculature even surrounds the entire testicle. Here you can see a superior view of the bladder, the two ureters coming from the kidneys, last part of the colon before it's the rectum here. And again, the seminal vesicles on either side, that one's open, and then the prostate gland. One more thing I want to show you here. I forgot to mention this a moment ago. This is the Cowper's gland or bulbourethral gland. You have two of these. You can see they sit just inferior to the prostate gland. So that is the Cowper's gland, aka bulbourethral gland. And as I mentioned earlier, this is erectile tissue, and what we call the head of the penis is clinically known as the glans penis, and it too has erectile tissue in it. So this is the female reproductive system. You have the urinary bladder. Again, this would be a ureter coming down from the kidney. This is the uterus, sits just above the urinary bladder. Again, this is the rectum and the anus for orientation. The greater vestibular glands. If we take this off, here we have a sagittal view. Again, the rectum right here coming down. This is the uterus now. In sagittal view, you can see the uterine cavity. You can see the cervical canal, and this is the cervix. This is the vaginal canal. Right here, you can see the clitoris. This is the urinary bladder and the urethra. Now, the urethra on a female is quite short, which makes them more vulnerable to bladder infections because it's a quicker route to the bladder for bacteria to get in and cause complications. If we turn this a little bit, we can see right here the ovary. Zoom in on that just a bit. You can see the ovary and the fallopian tube right here, and this is the fimbriate end of the fallopian tube. Now, understand that the ovary and the fallopian tube are not physically connected to one another. There's a little current that draws the egg into the fallopian tube. And right here is an area called the isthmus. The isthmus, and that's about the point where fertilization takes place. And again, understand, fertilization is not pregnancy. Pregnancy is not considered to have occurred until implantation into the uteral lining. Let's look at this in a three-dimensional model as well. So this is a three-dimensional view, an external view of the female reproductive system. Again, this is the mons pubis, which is a fat pad pretty much overlying the pubic symphysis or just superior to it. You can see the labia majora, labia minora, and this is just external. In fact, if we go up here, you can see the rectum. This then, let me even this up. This would be the uterus. You'd see the fallopian tubes coming off either side, the ovaries on either side, you see here, and the fimbriate ends. And then again, if we just open this up, it looks exactly like the other model did. So again, the rectum coming down, the uterine cavity, the cervical canal, the vaginal canal, this tight ring of muscle right here is the cervix, and then the urinary bladder and the urethra, the clitoris right here. And again, this is the labia majora, labia minora. So that's just a three-dimensional view of the female reproductive system.